Hey, all. Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. Today, I was reading an essay in the New York Times by Scott Shane. He's the author of a forthcoming book titled Flee North, A Forgotten Hero and the Fight for Freedom in Slavery's Borderland. The book profiles Thomas Smallwood, who, Shane notes, became the first to use the term Underground Railroad. It appeared in the August 10th, 1842 edition of the Tocsin of Liberty, an abolitionist newspaper published in Albany, New York. I became curious and I turned to newspapers.com. Those of you who have watched these videos hear me mention newspapers.com fairly often. It's my go-to place for great primary source information. I didn't find a copy of the Tocsin of Liberty dated August 10th, 1842, but I did find several newspapers that reprinted the article in their editions. And one of them is the Liberator, a newspaper well known to those who follow the cause of abolition before the Civil War. And I'm going to read to you the relevant quotes so you can see in print or how it appeared in print for the first time. And here's that passage: 26 slaves in 1 week. Sam Weller is requested to tell the slaveholders that we passed 26 prime slaves to the land of freedom last week and several more this week thus far. Don't know what the end of the week will foot up. All went by the Underground Railroad. So there's that first mention. It whet my appetite for more, and I began scrolling through the results on newspapers.com to find out what else might be of interest, and thinking that I might find some unique Civil War connections. As I scrolled through, I found an article in the August 23rd, 1844 issue of the Liberator, and it caught my attention. Keep in mind, August 23rd, 1844 is about 2 years after that original mention of the Tocsin of Liberty and the Underground Railroad. This particular article references the gentleman pictured here. So let me read the article to you in full. It's not that long, but it's a story that comes out of Illinois. So here we go. The headline is Reverend John Cross of Illinois, and that's him. This gentleman was arrested, indicted, and imprisoned in Knox County Jail, charged with having assisted a runaway slave, having, in fact, given shelter and food to a poor old Negro woman. The jailer put him into the inner prison. The judge appeared anxious to do justice to so deserving a criminal. The Attorney General moved a continuance of the case till the next term, as the material witness was absent, and the court admitted the motion. But Mr. Cross, wishing to come to trial, agreed to admit all the witness would testify. This was a stumper. The prosecutors made as graceful a retreat as the dignity of their position would admit, and Mr. Cross was discharged without the form of a trial. Mr. Cross, as soon as out of jail, published a flaring handbill headed with a large engraving representing an underground railroad with the train just plunging under the earth, loaded with passengers, while in the corner is seen a heavy wagon with kidnappers stowed in bulk and bound for Texas. Appended to this is the following notice: Liberty Line, new arrangement night and day. The improved and splendid locomotive, Clarkman and Lundy, with their trains fitted up the best of accommodation for passengers, will run their regular trips during the present season beyond the borders of the patriarchal demises in Libertyville, Upper Canada. Gentlemen or ladies who may wish to improve their health or circumstances by a northern tour are respectfully invited to give us their passage. Seats free, irrespective of color. Necessary clothing furnished gratuitously to such as have fallen among thieves. Hide the outcasts, let the oppressed go free. For seats, apply to any of the trapdoors or to the conductors of the train. J. Cross, proprietor. Man, I wish I had a copy of that poster with an underground or a railroad train going underground, a wagon nearby. If someone out there has one or sees it, definitely let me know. That's an amazing, at least it seems like an amazing illustration. So, who is Reverend John Cross? I've never heard of him. He is, in fact, John Newton Cross, born in 1797 in Ashfield, Massachusetts, an early outspoken and fervent abolitionist. As America moved west, so did he. Cross affiliated himself with like minded abolitionist radicals in Knox County, Illinois, and elsewhere, where he preached and assisted freedom seekers on his so called Liberty Line of the Underground Railroad. According to one researcher, quote, the testimonies of numerous Underground Railroad workers incontrovertibly substantiate the establishment of an interstate network by Cross. Another researcher notes specific details about Cross's life are difficult to come by, but his name repeatedly surfaces as the superintendent of the Underground Railroad. He is largely credited by most sources as the engineer behind the Underground Railroad, the leader who laid out the routes, selected the depot and agents, and was seemingly trusted by both fugitives and agents alike. Although he was indicted for harboring escaped slaves, he was never convicted. In 1853, he became founder and first president of Illinois Institute and also Wheaton Academy and Wheaton College. He died in South Dakota in 1885, a largely forgotten figure in American history. You know, I found no references to him during the Civil War. Of course, this is the product of one day of going down the research rabbit hole and searching for information. I would love to find that illustration that I mentioned earlier. I would love to find some additional information, some biographical information about his life. I'd also love to find this original photograph. This print appears to be a second or third generation copy, perhaps out of a book or some other publication. It was reprinted in a magazine in 2019, just a few years ago. So help me out. If you find it or any other information, do let me know. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail.